It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And remember, always check your candy.
So today we are going to be covering some of the most classic Halloween movies that people typically watch on Halloween, which is basically Trick or Treat and Hocus Pocus.
Plus, we gotta talk about the new Adam Sandler Halloween movie, good old Hubie Halloween. Guess that was a fun time.
Yeah, everybody has been binging that on Twitter, and it's definitely something that you should check out. It's horror comedy, I would like to call it, but it is something that we have to discuss.
Yeah, I would definitely call it a horror comedy as well, but we'll get to that in a sec. I think we should go ahead and get started with the big classic, the childhood one.
Okay, so Hocus Pocus.
Oh yeah, we're starting off with our favorite witch sisters.
Yeah, the Sanderson sisters, if you guys don't know who they are. So, Hocus Pocus was actually released in 1993, which is a lot older than even me and Yussef here. But Disney has released this movie, definitely having that shock factor before anybody got offended to those Disney standards. But Disney has taken a big step to being very daring while telling a very dark story, but with happy endings.
Yeah, it's funny enough, when I first saw this movie, I had no idea it was a Disney movie at all. I just thought it was a Halloween movie that you would just watch on like ABC Family or something like that. But I actually remember the last time I saw it for fun was like a year ago, I think. I went to I think it was for its anniversary, I went to go see it at the theater. And that was awesome because I was like, I hadn't seen this in a long time. Forgot how good this movie was. And I loved it all over again.
I watched it like 3 times this year. So. I watched that movie every year. So it's a tradition. Like, even though I'm like, I should turn away and watch other horror films, but I always come back to watching Hocus Pocus because it's just so good. It's so freaking quotable, especially all the quotes from the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah, it's got this charm to it that it's just hard to kind of get away from. Even if you want to take it away from it, you wouldn't want to at this point because it's such a fun movie anyway. And I think the biggest thing about it too is that it definitely, because you know how like Christmas movies have a very Christmassy feel to them, and like they give you like the Christmas feeling type of thing.
That's me with Grinchmas or Grinch. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Well, not Grinchmas. Sorry.
For me, that would be Christmas Vacation. But the same way that those Christmas movies make you feel about Christmas, I think Hocus Pocus is one of those movies that like just puts you in those Halloween vibes. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe, but like it gives you that like fall Halloween spooky season feeling, you know.
Yeah, so with our story, we are starting with Mac Dennison, who has just recently moved in from LA. I think it was LA.
Yeah.
And then he goes into Massachusetts, Salem, where, the classic witch trials took place. And he comes across this lovely girl, Allison, and plus he moves in with his sister, Danny, who is also like the little, like, what I love about Danny is that she has this charm to her, that she has like this pure like red head, and then she has like the classic like witch outfit, and plus she has like a little, like, how little kids, like, they can't have makeup, but they'll put them like with little red lipstick and stuff. I always thought she was like so cute. But then Max fucked up, done goofed, sorry, or goofed, if you want to say, and he lit the black flame candle, which brought the Sanderson sisters back from the grave after 300 years. That was the spell, but a virgin had to light the candle, which is one of those adult references that Disney has put into the movie And I'm pretty sure a lot of kids were wondering what the hell a virgin was.
Yes, it's definitely one of those first moments I think where Disney took an extra step forward in terms of, I guess, not just appealing to kids, but also trying to appeal to teenagers at that time too.
Especially when Max is bringing Danny trick or treating, and he comes across Allison's house, and Danny spills the beans that Max likes Allison's yabos. Which, you know, it's an interesting word of
Yabos.
choice for breasts,
Mm.
boobs, whatever you may want to call it. So Disney was definitely very daring in their words
Yeah.
and choosing.
I will say this. I remember when I used to watch this movie as a kid, for the longest time, I was like, I want to be as cool as Max, because like his whole thing was having a drum set in his room, and I was like, I want that in my room. Like, I want a little pit where I can put a drum set in my room and just play the drums, even though I have no idea how to play drums.
Then you definitely realize that Max is a dumbass. Well, in the most of the movie, he's kind of but like he has like this charm to him, which comes with him also like relating to Thackeray Banks, which is the cat that tries to stop Max from lighting the black flame candle, but he still gets away with it anyway. And Thackeray Banks was another brother from the Salem witch trial times where he tried to save his sister. What was it? Emily Banks.
Yeah, it was Emily. Yeah.
Banks, and she unfortunately got taken away by the sisters, made them young or somewhat younger, and then he's trying to tell Max to protect Danny because that's what they're after, is Danny and every kid in Salem.
What they used to like make them into like the kids into a soup, right, to stay young? Wasn't it something like that, or like a potion?
Well, they made a potion that they would feed it to the kid, and the kid's soul would slowly.
Oh, that's right. Then they would like suck at the soul. Yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
they would start sucking on their energy, and then eventually, like in the first season, or not first season, the first scene, it switches that the girl is with gray hair, and then the sisters have more vibrant colors, basically resembling that they're younger again. And another like interesting fact is that another reason why I love this movie, and you guys are gonna find me very weird for this, but I love Jason Marsden as an actor, especially that he was the voice for Thackeray Banks. But the actual actor that was Thackeray Banks in the movie was not Jason Marsden. Jason Marsden did the voice of Thackeray Banks in human form and the cat, but the human form was only lip syncing to Jason Marsden's voice.
Really?
But yeah,
I had no idea.
He did a amazing job lip syncing exactly in the way of Jason Marsden's voice. And Jason Marsden is literally shorter than I am. I've met him, and he has black hair. So if you see any picture of Jason Marsden when he was younger versus the actor, they're two completely different actors. I don't know who that other actor was, but he just fit the role better. It's just that similar scenario where they did in High School Musical, where Zach in the first movie was not actually singing at all.
Gotcha. I had no idea that was a thing. Now I definitely got to rewatch it for just that reason alone, just to like see that, just pick up on that little detail there.
I love Jason Marsden, and I literally study up on every character he's done.
What other characters has he done?
He's done Eddie Munster, so he was for the basically the revamped version of the Munsters.
Okay.
And then he also did Max Goof from A Goofy Movie. He was also Kovu from Lion King 2.
That's okay. That makes more sense.
In a couple of Skyrim games, and so he's in a lot of things. He's a great voice actor.
Gotcha.
But he has had a couple of in real life roles too. I just can't think of them right now. Okay. I'm mostly a fan of his animated plus like fantasy roles.
Cool. I think another thing we got to discuss in terms of actors. And I feel awful for not remembering this guy's name, but he plays is it like a guess he would be considered a zombie, wouldn't he?
Billy Butcherson,
Yeah.
which is technically Winifred's old lover,
Yeah.
apparently, in Salem witch trial times. But apparently, like we never see that history between them. We just
It's just
see
assumed,
him,
and it's kind of like alluded to. Yeah.
But he does curse her out, and
Yeah.
I think he says go to hell.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, thank you. I quite like it there, actually. And and she says it like that. It's just so many things that, Disney has let pass by. And if you guys have been to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, they also do the Hocus Pocus show. And when they're singing the I Put a Spell on You song, because there's a part that says, and there's hell to pay, they changed the word to heck. So it doesn't offend all those kind of families that not to teach kids bad words like hell, because hell is a place that exists in books, and if you're religious in real life, I don't know, just and whatever you believe in, but don't teach kids those words. Fuck.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to say too is the actor that plays Billy. He's known as the man that plays a million creatures, because he was Billy. In the Hellboy movies, he played Abe Sapien. He played the creature from Pan's Labyrinth. He played the creature that was in The Shape of Water. I think he's in Star Trek Discovery now, like the new Star Trek series on CBS. Like, the man is known for bringing life to a bunch of creatures. And
man, that's really cool.
He has like a huge career and that kind of stuff. And the thing is, if you look at him outside of any type of like monster or like creature makeup, he just looks like an alien to begin, because he's like really tall but like really gaunt and thin. He looks like a Tim Burton character. Like he's a real life Tim Burton character without makeup.
Oh, he's definitely like one of those iconic characters. In, he really does look like it. Yeah. Especially, it just reminds me of that stupid trend that's going around in TikTok where they're making everybody like themselves look like Tim Burton characters. He doesn't need to do that trend.
He just smiles and that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But from what I've heard, he's also supposed to be like one of the nicest guys out there, because apparently, like in interviews and like people that have like talked to him and stuff, they say he's like a sweetheart. That he's a gentle giant because he's super tall, but he's like a super nice guy.
That's really cool. But the fact that he's like freakishly tall and he can pull up all those characters.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's really I feel like tallness in that aspect and also looking like a Tim Burton character has definitely worked to his advantage.
Oh, it definitely has, yeah.
So another quick fun fact. So any of you guys who have been in YouTube in the cringiest times, in the cringiest and cringiest of times, Emily Banks, which is in the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, if you guys know, maybe in the early 2000s, I would like to say, if you guys know of the YouTuber called Venetian Princess, where she does really cringy parodies of like Lady Gaga and makes them like super weird, all like, very Kim Kardashian like, so she's done like a couple of parodies of like making fun of the artist, but obviously in a light of just for the fun of it, she was Emily Banks. And so Venetian Princess, a lot of people know her. They recognize her as Emily, so that's also another quick fun fact for you guys, especially if you were a Venetian Princess fan or you watched her. I only know that because I was very guilty of watching her videos and liking them. So
we do have to talk about some of the, we got to talk about the Sanderson sisters, like the actresses, because all three of them are incredible. They're queens. Because you have, Bette Midler as Winnie, and Bette Midler's, she's a goddess. I love that woman to death.
I didn't realize that, the Hello Salem, my name's Winifred, what's yours? It was a reference to another musical that she did, and I was like,
yeah.
What? I didn't know that. Yep. I found that out like not too long ago. I was like, I just keep loving this movie more and more.
Yeah, because
I'm absolutely obsessed with Sarah Jessica Parker as well. But she's definitely a goddess, and I wish she would come back for a Hocus Pocus too. But I think she's the main reason why they won't go forward with it
Really?
because they want the entire um original cast to come back. But I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully. I mean, stranger things have happened, so. But yeah, I loved how they interacted with each other. They were almost like the Three Stooges if they were witches.
Oh yeah.
Like that's very much how it felt for me.
And I feel like sometimes, like, man, like, is this Legend of the Sanderson sisters real? I'm pretty sure they're made up, but like, it would be cool if they were like real witches. That, you know.
I wonder if they're like sisters in the terms of like a coven of witches, because they don't look anything alike. Like I'm pretty sure they're not like blood sisters.
I know. Why was I cursed with some idiot sisters? I think that was the word. Or wretched sisters.
And I think one of my favorite scenes though is when all three of them are walking out of the cottage and they're walking in unison and they're like doing this like weird huff and puff thing as they're walking. I love that so much. It's like my favorite thing from that movie.
Heck out of this movie. And it's just the hell that it's just I love this movie so much. There's like no words. And it's just the fact that it's one of those movies that you could literally watch and never get tired of. Yeah. And I feel like definitely Disney, I know that I'm pretty sure they have some regrets from like releasing this movie, but it's also the fact that it has people like this movie for the nostalgia, which is why they're bringing it back to the parks, back to our streaming services now, like Disney Plus and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has like a cult following at this point, especially for people our age that grew up watching it on cable and stuff like that.
Before everybody was sensitive to things.
Now, I know this, like you said earlier, Disney kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit with this movie in terms of what they could do in terms of being family friendly. And we gotta talk about the scene where they go to this random guy's house and he's just dressed up as the devil. And they just like fall in love with him and they think he's like Satan or something. And they just chill at his house, like eating Cheetos and watching TV.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like the funniest thing to me.
I think the quote, even though that's like pushing the boundaries, I feel like the scene that pushed the boundaries the most is when they come across the bus driver.
Oh my god, the bus driver!
He opens up the door, and then he's like, "Oh, what can I get? What are you ladies up to?" They're like, "We want children," and he's like, "It's gonna take me a couple of tries, but we can." I was like, "Whoa, Disney, what's going on?" So like, it's definitely one of those things that Disney has pushed a lot of sexual jokes in this movie, and the fact that it's just so subtle that any kid that could be watching this movie right now would not catch on to things unless it's the word yabos and virgin. I'm pretty sure they're going to ask their parents what the fuck those are. But for everything else, it's a very subtle way that we know what it is, but like children might not catch on to it until much later if they become a fan of this movie.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of kind of double entendres and like little things they would throw in there just to see if they would fly. Like even the whole thing with the parents, how the mom was just dressed up as Madonna and she's got like the big like things, you know, the big boob cone things.
I still question to this day every time I watch this movie, how did they get away with that? How?
This movie's PG, right?
It is PG. Yep.
Wow, they were really pushing it. Yeah, that's like a near PG-13 movie at this point. Like that's like 80s PG. Because 80s and PG in the 80s, they could do pretty much whatever they wanted. They just couldn't they couldn't drop an F-bomb every once in a while, but they pretty much did everything else. Like I feel like that's what they did with this movie. They were like, it's like an 80s PG movie.
I'm literally looking at the genre, and it is considered a family comedy, but Lord, like So, you
A
know
family
what's crazy
comedy?
is that this movie, even though it was only, I feel like it was only released for Disney Channel, it
Mm-hmm.
was released. But apparently, the box office was $42.6 million for this movie.
It
And
made
it took,
42.6 million.
yes.
Wow. Do you know what does it
And
show what the budget on there was? Like how much they made it for?
I will check that, but you can keep touching on some points while I look
Yeah,
at
because I
that up.
think budget wise, I think that movie had it didn't have like a super big budget. I think it was like a medium sized budget, and I'm pretty sure most of that went towards paying Bette Midler. Because like for those of you that don't know, Bette Midler is a huge Broadway actress, like similar in style to Barbara Streisand. I mean, everybody knows who Barbara Streisand is at this point. So similar type of actress that came from Broadway and just kind of made the jump over to movies and had a pretty good amount of success with that.
So the budget for this movie was 28 million.
Oh wow! So like it pretty much made double its just under double its budget. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's actually
pretty
that's not a
good for
big budget
being
movie at all
just
for that time at
like
least.
with Disney Channel. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It kind of sucks. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 38%, but
Rotten
hey,
Tomatoes does not know what they're talking about.
sometimes. I mean,
Sometimes.
sometimes they're hit or miss. I mean, I'll take their word for it when a movie is good, but there's some movies that are god awful, and you know it's a cult classic, just like Hocus Pocus is. And you know, I'm pretty sure if they were to have watched it now, with all of the following and the fact that this was a Disney movie, I feel like this could be way higher.
Yeah, if this movie were to be released now, I would probably give it. I think on Rotten Tomatoes it would have like a maybe like a 65% on there. So I
That's what I
know
was
some
thinking
critics
too.
are still going to tear it to shreds. That's just how critics are. But it's interesting. It's interesting too because I have this little thing with Rotten Tomatoes. It's like a little theory. If you're looking for a a movie to watch that isn't considered a huge score on Rotten Tomatoes, anything in the 20 to 40% range, the movie itself might be bad according to Rotten Tomatoes, but you're gonna have a fun time watching them. Like that's been at least my experiences with it. Because some of the movies that I've seen, and then later on I check the scores on Rotten Tomatoes are usually like 30, 35, 40%, and I'm like, I can see why, but I still enjoyed myself. So,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of movies are starting to hit that point. But I mean, recently, movies in Rotten Tomatoes have been getting higher scores, which is
I
really weird for
think so
movies that I
too.
don't like. For movies that I like, I wouldn't agree to that kind of score. But like,
I think a lot of it has to do, and as much as I hate to say this, it might be certain types of bias. Because certain types of
I agree.
reviewers are going to review movies a certain way because the studio or like the executives will be like, hey, this will help us sell this movie. Because I mean, if you look at any trailer for a movie now, the first thing they're going to announce is like, oh, it's got an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, and like they use that now as a selling point instead of like an actual way to review a movie and actually determine how good it is or not.
Oh, I agree. But I feel like Rotten Tomatoes is literally like the harsh critic of the movie world.
Yeah, sort of. Because I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, all it really does is takes all the scores a movie has gotten and just puts them together and gives them an average score. That's really all it does. So you can't really blame Rotten Tomatoes itself. It's mostly the reviewers who are giving them high scores to bump up the Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah.
Same as people who do it
So.
the opposite way, where they'll like do it where they'll like review bomb stuff on purpose just to
Mhm.
bring down the score of something. That people do that kind of stuff all the time too. So,
Mm.
but in the case of Hocus Pocus, I would definitely rate that a much higher percentage on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget of Kathy and Jimmy, who is also the wonderful Mary character that we love. from the Sanderson sisters. She's like the weird one that always has her lip to the side.
Yeah.
And like, is they Winnie? I smell children. And she was an amazing actress. I feel like she, even though this movie was already a comedy, but she was like the comedic relief in the
Yeah, I
entire.
definitely think so. I mean, before Hocus Pocus, I used to watch this movie all the time as a kid. I knew her from Sister Act.
I've never seen
She
that
was one
one.
of the nuns in Sister Act, and she was so funny in that movie. Like, I remember watching that movie so much, and I loved her specifically in that movie. So then, like, watching her now, as an adult watching Hocus Pocus, I'm like, I can definitely see that she has a very distinct style of comedy, and I honestly I love how she does comedy.
Yeah. And apparently, I never knew this, but she was in Bride of Chucky. Even though I have binge watched Bride of Chucky like
I just
many
saw that
times.
recently. I don't remember seeing her on there actually. I might have to rewatch it just to see if I can find her again.
And she's also been on classic Disney movies such as Tinkerbell, Brother Bear 2, and all that kind of jazz. So, and Descendants.
Mm,
I am very guilty of liking
I
Descendants.
have
Don't
not seen
judge
them at
me,
all.
but it's it's a Disney original that it's basically like with all the kids of all the Disney villains and all that other stuff. Also has Cameron Boyce, who also passed away this year, I think it
Yeah,
was, or
I think it
last
was
year,
right. I
or
can't remember. Yeah, I think it was at the beginning of this year.
yeah, in the beginning of this
Yeah.
year. So yeah, but those are all the three Sanderson sisters. I don't know much of the other actors of what they're doing. I know
Yeah,
that Jason
they
Marsden is still doing shows for
mm,
Disney and other kind of things that he does. He also has his own little webcast, web show, whatever the fuck. Showcasing a lot of because he's from Tennessee, so he does a lot of like Western shows of like talent and all that stuff. And yeah, I don't know much of Omri Katz, which was our Max Dennison, and Vanessa Shaw looks familiar because she was Allison, but I haven't seen her in any movies recently.
okay. I do want to talk about this one character in the movie, and that's the bully, the kid with the long blonde hair that we call him Hollywood.
Oh yeah, the one that calls it Hollywood. Call me Ice.
Yeah.
And then start pointing to head. What's up? What the fuck?
Uh,
I,
they were like the
this is
most like
so
'90s bullies I've ever seen in any type of movie.
It makes me like also like question. I'm like, man, like were bullies back then really like that? Because I don't remember
I don't know.
bullies like that at all. Like, I mean, it's just a stereotype that they used to like do in the '90s with like the bullies. I thought that was really funny, and those two are amazing, especially when Max sees them like in the cage and the shoes that they stole from him in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
He takes it back and he just leaves them there. So Max gives them a taste of their own medicine, and yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't mess with him after that.
Yeah, not to mention too, like all the little visual comedy things in the movie, like the whole thing about the witch or the Sandersons thinking that Max is like some sort of wizard or druid at the beginning when he lights up when he turns on the lighter and turns on the sprinklers in the house, and they think it's magic.
It's like the rain of death.
Yeah, that's what he
And
calls.
that's what they think. And then when the water would just pour down, they'd be like, ah!
Which I love
It's like,
because it was a
"Mr.
nice.
Just water."
Which I love because it was a nice little nod to Wizard of Oz because that's the thing that would kill the Wicked Witch. She would shoot water at her. So I thought that was really funny how they snuck that in there too. And as well, you have to love.
The daylight savings one too was
Oh
funny.
yeah,
It's like,
did I say anything?
it's
Yeah.
like we gotta love daylight savings, and they're like then they turn on the headlights of the car like up to like optimum speed, and then Danny is like, I want to see them melt or die, and then she looks back and realizes it's the car. She's like, bump it. In other words, another word for fuck it.
Yeah.
So that was just another sneakily bad word put under a child's instead of actually saying the F word. It's just like
Yep.
bump it. Yeah.
Oh, and not to mention too the other little visual piece in there. It's when the Sandersons are getting ready to fly on their brooms, and you have Winnie on her broom. I'm sorry, I can't get through that without laughing. Because you have the Sarah Jessica Parker's character on the broom, and she shows up on the vacuum cleaner with the cord hanging out. I'm like, oh my god.
That was Mary.
Oh man, that was great.
Yeah, Kathy Najimy, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in the vacuum cleaner, and the fact that you see her swing that and it hits so hard, I'm just like, oh god.
Because they're all just like, boom, boom, and she's like, boom.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like during that scene, I mean, I'm pretty sure the vacuum cleaner wasn't on anyway, but imagine if it would have turned on somehow through magic and it just sucks her freaking dress from underneath. That would suck.
Oh man. Honestly, I love that movie.
Yeah, so absolutely, if you guys have not seen Hocus Pocus, give it a watch.
Please do it.
If you haven't, I'm literally like, what are you waiting for? October is almost done. Crazy, like 9 days until October.
But I mean, it doesn't have to be October for you to watch it. You can just watch it whenever. It's that good of a movie.
Yeah, well, anytime.
Yeah, for sure.
As I just randomly slurped. Sorry, guys. I'm drinking water. If you guys haven't been watching me on the podcast on YouTube, I am drinking water, so I just kind of slurped and all that stuff. I promise I'm not trying to give you some disgusting ASMR stuff.
No, that's for later.
No. But yeah, so I love this movie. Go watch it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fun time. I think I can understand the whole family comedy like label they put on it, because it's one of those things where like your whole family can watch it and they'll find something they like about it. Because like the adults will like the adult jokes, the kids will like the whole witchy spooky thing, the teenagers will like the adult jokes.
Yeah, one last thing, the fact that they show the bus running over the cat, I'm like, yo, that's gonna traumatize
oh my god,
the kid.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
When they
Jesus
run
Christ.
over Thackeray, and you just see him deflate, and then Danny starts crying, and then all of a sudden we see
he just inflates.
inflates again. I was like, oh god.
Like, oh my god.
Like Thackeray tells Danny that he can't die and all that other stuff. So because the witches put a curse on him, that he lives forever. So because that was basically the curse from him trying to save his sister Emily.
Yeah, but for sure, definitely give Hocus Pocus a watch if you haven't already. Or if you have, just give it another watch. Rewatch it. It's always a good time.
Absolutely. So we are now going into another one of my favorite Halloween binging movies, Trick or Treat.
Yes.
I love Trick or Treat, and it's definitely an anthology. Like a lot of horror anthologies, like they're cool, but they're not as memorable as Trick or Treat.
Yeah, because here's the thing about Trick or Treat. It's an anthology movie, but all the stories are connected in some way or another. Because they all have like characters that go from one story to the other, certain themes that are running through in each story, as well as, of course, Sam is the one thread that connects all the stories together. So, but I think that's one of the things that sets it apart from other anthology films. The fact that you can kind of trace a timeline as to how the stories take place, because it all takes across Halloween night.
Essentially, Sam is definitely like the spirit of Halloween and all this other stuff. And as long as you follow the rules, you are going to have a successful Halloween. But if you don't, you get into awful trouble, which is what we are introduced to through the anthology movies when you don't do the rules or like follow the rules and whatnot.
Yeah. I feel like this movie is also, I will consider this movie kind of a dark comedy as well. Because outside of its horror stuff, it's got some really funny moments that, like, it uses darkness to be funny.
Yeah. I definitely agree, especially, like, the one Out of the many parts that were hilarious in this movie, the one part that I really liked or that got me rolling was when Sam got thrown across the room. Towards the end of the movie, I hear and his head, or I think his back hit the wall, and it was just like, okay, like I'm just gonna naturally get up, and I'm like, oh god, like it could have gone without, but it was just a really nice touch. But it's just also like woke up my eyes, like damn, like also like Sam is supposedly like a spirit of a 10-year-old kid, but it's like the spirit of Halloween, but he's like literally like 10-year-old height, and just makes me not want to take him seriously, but at the same time, like he has a lollipop that can cut throats. So yeah, that's the thing.
I would say one of the funnier scenes for me is kind of a spoiler, I guess, but it's the school principal that poisons the one kid and makes him throw up all the candy. And when he's like trying to bury the body, but like he keeps getting interrupted. Like I think that for me is like one of the funnier scenes because it's just like the most natural thing where he's just like trying to hide this body, but he just keeps getting interrupted. And he has to like constantly like try to hide it again. I just thought that was like the funniest thing.
And then when the body came back to life, and he just literally hits it like a couple of times with the shovel. I'm like, what? It's like, and especially like when you first watch this movie, mind you, I watched this movie when it was one of the very few horror films that were on Netflix when Netflix was first released, and it like in the beginning you really do think that the principal is gonna kill his kid because he's like, Daddy, do this, Daddy, do that, like,
Yeah.
and then you see like him with his kid trying to carve up a jack-o'-lantern, putting a knife as instead of the point of view of killing his child, but in reality they were both carving out the other kid's
the kid
face.
that he poisoned earlier.
It's very disturbing because the kid knows that he's been doing that. So that was pretty dark for a movie like that. And it's crazy because if you haven't noticed, or if you noticed the pattern, Trick or Treat was not going to get approved for filming because it was a comic book, as they had a lot of trouble trying to get it released and whatnot. But Trick or Treat was not as popular. When I would talk to people when I first came across that movie, people were like, what's that? And now Trick or Treat, everybody knows that movie.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like this weird phenomenon that happened between the release on Netflix, which is not a Netflix original, but it's definitely like opened other doors for it to be more known.
Yeah,
that now everybody knows this movie.
Yeah, and you definitely got to give props to Halloween Horror Nights for that because, their scare zone and their house later on, it was like, okay, so it kind of opened people's eyes to it, and they're like, okay, maybe we should give this movie a try. And kind of from there, it kind of got another following now.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. Halloween Horror Nights did make this movie more known because if you guys do remember, if you guys go to Party City or Spirit Halloween, they didn't have trick or treat costumes or any of that. Like you had to make it yourself. And I know that I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I finally did my Sam cosplay out of like literally the same material of like that really hot like polyester, like no, not polyester.
It was like felt,
a
wasn't
fuzzy
it?
suit.
Yeah, it's like a felt suit. Yeah, like a bunny suit.
And it's very hot. But the thing that I like about it is that I was able to paper mache and put the sack over my head, and it looks just like Sam. And now you can go to the store, be Sam, but the mask doesn't look very comfortable, so I'm really happy about my mask. But yeah, like the fact that there was an overgrowing of popularity of this movie, and now it's becoming on people's list, just like anybody with Nightmare Before Christmas, Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, the Halloween movies, naturally, and all that other horror
they're
and Halloween stories.
Yeah, they're kind of considered like essential Halloween movies at this point. So
it's not spooky season unless you watch them.
Exactly. And
so
we gotta. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Toss that out. Toss that out. Toss it. All right. You talk.
So we got to talk about a little bit about each one of the little stories in the film. So I think we should start with your favorite, because I know you have a soft spot for a specific story in the film.
Yeah. I mean, it really does come close to Rhonda's, but I definitely love the werewolf scene. The werewolf scene is my absolute favorite. It's just the fact that we think about Lori and her sister, which they look nothing alike, mind you, but we find out later on that they're not actually blood sisters, but they are werewolves in a pact, in basically a family pact and all that stuff. And they this story does give out vibes of, you're in college or you're a young woman and you should find a potential mate to lose your virginity, that kind of thing. And they're trying, and Lori says, oh, like, I kind of want my first time to be special, but we're giving the impression that she's trying to have sex, but we aren't. So towards the movie, I think this is the scene that confuses me a lot, and I'm pretty sure it is. The guy that Lori kills or rips apart is the teacher or
Yes,
the
it is.
professor that snuck out at night after putting his kid to bed. So essentially, Lori transforms into a werewolf. You hear Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams play. All the college girls in their sexy outfits rip off their skin and to reveal these wonderful werewolf women, which I live for. And I love werewolves and I love the fact that they're girls, and it's just amazing. And I can go off about this scene all the time. It's just the fact that Lori was such a down to earth character, from like the realism of she's not trying to be like her friends or her sisters rather, but essentially, she felt like she needed to do that growing up to finally get her first meal, or
Yeah.
basically her first transformation. Because if you notice in this movie, all the other girls in the pact transformed fairly quickly, but Lori takes a bit of time to transform, and we don't actually see her in her full werewolf features, which is just makes me think that she was just recently transformed into a werewolf to finally get her first kill of the night on Halloween. So then we see Sam in the background acknowledging, the whole sacrifice. And yeah, so that's like my favorite part of the movie,
So
besides the Rhonda one. But the Rhonda one is definitely cool as well.
so here's what I liked. The two things that I liked about the werewolf story. One, if you were to take the whole story and cut it into one long cohesive thing, it's about 15 to 20 minutes long. They straight up told a coming of age story with werewolves in 20 minutes. Like, not many people can do that. You gotta give them the major props for being able to write such a cohesive, effective plot that only takes 20 minutes to explain.
And it only takes place in the middle of Halloween night, which
Yeah.
they buy their costumes. They essentially get them checked out. They're trying to find potential dates for this party out in the woods.
Yeah.
And they all get their meal, but Lori is the only one that didn't. So it's definitely, I agree, it is a coming of age story.
Yeah. Especially because, like I said, in terms of the pacing, it has like no fat in it. It's just like, boom, costumes, boom, looking for the mate, boom, going to the woods, boom, we got our guy, boom, let's eat him. That's it. Like, it doesn't wait. It doesn't spend time on anything else. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be explored.
Yeah. So we also come into the impression in the middle of the story that something bad might have happened to Lori when the professor has tried to eat her, or basically assault her in a way.
Yeah.
And
especially
then
because he had been killing people earlier in the evening as this like masquerade, this Zorro type thing where he's wearing like a mask, and he had been killing other women as well. So you think, oh, she's going to be another one of his victims.
Mm-hmm. and then you just see his body flop from the tree, and Lori comes into frame, and that's when that whole werewolf transformation scene starts. And it's definitely, I have this lovely soft spot for that movie. It gets me every freaking time. I will never ever get tired of it.
Yeah, I definitely loved that story as well.
So, which one would yours be?
Ooh, right off the bat, for me it's no contest. My favorite one is Rhonda and the school bus kids.
She comes so close for me.
Oh, I just love Rhonda so
Both
much.
the fuck out of literally the whole story that she says to the kid, and then at the end, I like your eye patch. That just walks away, and it's just, man, those kids were assholes. But the fact that Rhonda like literally like gave them a taste of their own medicine was literally like
Yeah.
cherry on top of everything. It was like, mwah, chef geese.
Because okay, so for those of you that don't know, the whole story with Rhonda is that she's just like a typical, I would say like a middle schooler, and she gets grouped in with these three. Is it three or four? Like other middle schooler kids, maybe like some of the popular kids, and they take her to this quarry, and they explain the story to her. It's like a couple of years, like 20, 30 years ago or something like that. These kids that were kind of special kids were put on the school bus by their parents, and the parents all paid off the bus driver to literally drive the bus off the cliff into the quarry and kill the children. And that's what happens. And the legend goes that the kids are still there, and if you go down there, you can find the school bus and you can see the kids. And of course, they try to bully Rhonda. They push her into the quarry to try to get her to get haunted by the ghosts. Or they take the elevator down. That's what it was. They take an elevator.
And they have to take the pumpkins down the elevator to
Like as an offering.
let the kids know, like an offering to the kids that died. What went wrong is that definitely the bus driver was not supposed to be on the bus. They were all locked up and all that stuff. But the Dracula kid was smart to escape, but then he was trying to turn the bus around, which eventually led off the cliff.
Yeah. It's very tragic. And so the whole thing too, where they try to bully Rhonda into going, into like trying to strand her in there and like leave her there. But of course, as happens in all the movies where bullies get involved, they get a taste of their own medicine. The kids come after them instead, and it's kind of unknown what their fates are. But I'm pretty sure the kids just died. They died.
Then you peacefully see Rhonda just coming out of the cliff area, just minding her own business, unbothered. And it's just the fact that one of those guys, the only kind of good looking kid, and like that she liked from the group, like she didn't even pay no mind after like he got a taste of his own medicine, because the angel girl was trying to basically have the guy like try to make Rhonda like basically like swoon her and all this other stuff, but,
just to mess with her.
Yeah, just trying to. It's one of those things where like popular kids like to play with someone's feelings to be able to get them into the prank that they want.
Yeah,
kind of like spin the bottle, like trying to set you up with the most popular kid, and then they give you a pig to kiss in the dark, and you think it's them, but it's not. It's
like that kind of like
that kind of story.
Popular kid bullying the non-popular kid type of thing. But what's cool about that story is too, again, it's how well connected it is to the other stories in the film, specifically the old man. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil anything else. But I like how they connected that together, and I kind of like the whole idea of these kids that, their school bus literally crashed into a quarry and they died just way down there at this like bottom of this cliff. I thought that was really creepy, especially the fact that they have like a working elevator that'll take you down there.
Yeah, it's just like what kind of construction has been going down there to
Yeah.
be able to even get. But Are we really not going to spoil the end?
Okay, maybe a little bit, but before we get to that, I do want to say one last thing about the whole Rhonda story, because I love the Rhonda story so much that I actually ended up writing a fan fiction sequel to Trick or Treat. That it's not as much of an anthology; it is kind of a self-contained story, but it does feature Rhonda back in the story for like a sequel to Trick or Treat. But it's it would very much be, if you were to take that and then combine it with other stories, it would definitely make enough for another anthology film for a sequel to Trick or Treat. So I like to count that as like one of the many stories that it could have as a sequel.
You're just making me want to go buy that whole comic that they're selling on Amazon. The you know that comic that they're selling?
Yeah.
A Trick or Treat, like, and it's like $25. I'm like, I don't want it though. So I just love anything Trick or Treat. It is just specifically Sam and Lori, but I also love Rhonda. She's such a cool character.
Yeah,
for
she really is.
As much screen time that she did have, even it's not as much. It's just she didn't have a lot of speaking lines, but it definitely made an impact on everything that has happened to her and whatnot.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just how the actress herself reacts to what is happening around her, and not only that, how she, without really speaking much, how you can tell how the character is going through her arc. And like, you not only is, you got to give major props to the actress for being able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that this movie, within its anthology, we do see, as we mentioned there, we do see the story of, him poisoning the kid and the I say professor, but the teachers basically poisoning the kid to almost killing his kid, but not really, ends up them carving up a jack-o'-lantern. He goes out into the city, kills women. Then we see Lori kill him, then Rhonda, and the story is all cohesive. And we also see those kids also ask the teacher for a pumpkin for a jack-o'-lantern, and he thinks that they're going to smash it. He's like, no, it's for a scavenger hunt, as they lie. And it's just all connected into one big story where Sam is involved as a spirit of Halloween, and and each of those either breaks or someone follows the rules.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like Sam doesn't have a story until the end, but Sam is literally the thread, like Yussef said, that connects all of those stories together, plus the old man at the end.
But we do have to talk about Sam's story, because it does correlate with the old man. Because I freaking love that this movie has the whole story is straight up a fight scene between this old man and Sam. And I think it's like the coolest thing.
Oh yeah, like the entire scene is
just one big fight.
Fight with this 10-year-old spirit versus a grown-ass man. And and we do finally see Sam's real face in this fight. And
he's terrifying.
As you expect, he may be cute with his little sack, but behind all of that is one scary pumpkin kid.
Yeah.
And it is dark eyes. Looks like
he looks like a living jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, but he looks like a straight up Jim Henson character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like puppet with I don't even think that was CGI. I'm like,
oh no. That's definitely a practical effect. It's definitely a puppet that they made. So I definitely got to say, one of my favorite parts of that whole fight sequence is one of the moments where Sam gets like knocked down, and he gets up and just like unwraps a piece of candy, and just has the piece of candy with a knife sticking out of it with like a razor blade. I'm like, oh, Sam's coming to play now. Okay. Like, he's getting serious. He's like, okay, I can't take you with this lollipop. I got you with this other knife, though.
Oh my gosh. It's just the fact that I'm like, wouldn't he be violating his own rules? But like, it was just so weird because he undoes a candy wrap. he doesn't even bite out of it. He just kind of slides a little thing, and it just
Yeah.
nonchalant. I was like,
It's
what?
like it's like he has a box cutter with like a candy wrapping around it, and he just like slides up the box cutter.
But y'all, low key, I kind of want it.
Like that'd be pretty cool to have like as a little prop, like a little like candy bar with a knife sticking out of it. That'd be cool.
Yo, I'm gonna make that. But then somebody's like, "Why do you have a knife and a candy?" I was like, "I don't fucking know. You clearly have not watched Trick or Treat, you uncultured swine."
I mean, I literally have a butcher's knife with Michael Myers' face on it, so I shouldn't be saying anything.
I have Sam's lollipop, so
Well,
it doesn't really cut, sadly.
Well, I have a lament configuration, so I can unleash otherworldly pleasures if I wanted to.
That didn't sound right.
Mm.
But we also, as you guys also know, that Spirit Halloween also released a limited edition Sam, so he was also very
Yeah, little Funko
cool.
Pop. He's adorable.
He's freaking adorable. I love having him with his little sack and the little jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah,
And
he's sitting he's sitting on his little like log. He's just sitting there. He's just chilling.
And another thing is that Shudder also released a little log of his jack-o'-lantern, and you can play it in the background. It's an hour long. I like putting this when I'm in my room. I just kind of leave it playing.
Oh, like a little like a Yule log thing.
Like, yeah.
Oh my god, that's so cool! I didn't know that.
And it literally, like, you hear like bodies thud, you hear the wind blowing, you hear children playing.
That's awesome.
It's literally the coolest thing. If you guys have not seen the Gulag on Shudder, then you definitely should. Leave it in the background, observe some noises that you hear. It is definitely a cool thing. I'm surprised that they don't actually have the Trick or Treat movie on this platform, but the Gulag is good enough for me, honestly.
I'll definitely have to check that out then. I didn't even know that was a thing that was on there. I'll definitely be able to look into that.
I put that shit all the time. Like, literally in my room. Like, even though it's like you hear like screaming in the background, and I'm like, but it's very subtle. It's not like something that blares through your TV. It's like super subtle. But yeah, Trick or Treat is definitely a traditional movie that you guys should watch. It's an anthology. It teaches you basically morals of Halloween. Don't be an idiot. And just, it's literally something you can take away something from each and every story that is told through this movie. It was originally a comic, and it took a while for it to get approved for a movie, and it is now practically a tradition.
Yeah, it's definitely another one of those movies like Hocus Pocus that it's. I mean, look at Halloween. Halloween is set during Halloween, but it's not overtly in your face fall Halloween children running around and dressed in costumes. Trick or Treat gives you that and more. Like, it is straight up a Halloween movie. Like, it immediately brings you into the Halloween spirit, just like perfectly.
So it's kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas, where it is straight up a Halloween movie in the beginning, but it's also basically dual purpose, where Tim Burton did say it was straight up a Halloween movie, but like it could also be used for Christmas time. But so it's definitely one of those movies where if it's evident and it shows that it is fall, it definitely gets you into the season, just like Yussef said.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those movies that we both recommend that you watch if you haven't yet, or even if you have already, watch it again and again and again and again and again.
Like me, this year I've watched both of those probably like 3 to 5 times so far, and I will never ever get tired of it. So.
But I think it's time to move on to the last film that we're going to be discussing this evening, and it is the most recent.
Newcomer.
The most recent into the pantheon of seasonal Halloween movies, and that is the Netflix exclusive Adam Sandler cast extravaganza, Hubie Halloween.
So it is a Adam Sandler movie, of course, and it's definitely interesting. I saw this trending all over Twitter, and I didn't actually get around to watching it until probably like 2 days ago. I think I watched it. So it's definitely funny. It has lots and lots of references to old Adam Sandler movies, also other Halloween movies as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's if you've seen other Adam Sandler movies, you know what to expect. But I feel like this one had like a little bit of an extra charm to it. Don't know if it was just because of like the whole Halloween thing, but I would say that's a pretty big part of it. But it's also because it's like Vania said, it alludes, it hints at his previous films, and it hints at and has so many Easter eggs to so many other horror films. For example, right off the bat, they hit you with a radio broadcast, and the first thing I think of is, The Fog. The same thing as what they did in The Fog with the radio broadcasts. And of course, they have him riding a bike, similar to Stranger Things, similar to E.T., Goonies, all that stuff, like all that 80s type of stuff. I will say this, there's one thing about this movie that annoys me. And that annoys me with whenever Adam Sandler does this, and that is when he does a stupid voice throughout the entire movie. I don't like when he does that. I didn't like it in Waterboy, and I for sure didn't like it in Hubie Halloween. I don't like when he does it. I don't know why. I think it just bothers me because it's just like, okay, it feels like when a kid's doing an annoying voice and you're like, okay, just stop talk like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Especially because he doesn't talk like that. He talks like a regular human being. It just annoys me at some point.
I guess that's just a character because remember that he's supposed to be like an awkward character. I like what this movie definitely reminds me of, but damn, that's like towards the end. I don't want to ruin the end. But like I'll just say this. It's just the fact that Hubie lives with his mom, and his mom, I feel like his mom's more into very much Halloween, and she puts all the decorations out in the house, and Hubie kind of gets scared shitless and all that stuff. So it's kind of like a scaredy cat kind of vibe, and she's like the dominant mom that does like laughs, or basically like she's just calling him a pussy like all the time. Like, it just gave me some major Friday the 13th vibes.
I would have even said Carrie.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I would definitely, because how in Carrie, she was kind of bullied. Her mom wasn't really nice to her either, type of thing. And that's kind of what you get in here, too.
Yeah, but it's just the fact that in the end, she did, like, defend... Hubie against all the, it's basically that movie where it's like it's a small town where everybody's just annoyed with this one guy, the fact that he breathes and the fact that he's just annoying exists. And he just exists, and even throughout all the good deeds, like they're still mean to him and all this other stuff, and plus there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. So I didn't know this. Apparently, the news anchor that was in that movie was actually a news anchor, and she got fired because she did that movie in the Harley Quinn costume. Yeah.
What?
When I found
What?
The news anchor in that movie.
That's so
was
weird.
Actually a news anchor, but when they casted her, they're like, you can't do that because then they booted her because of that.
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
So I'm like, I really hope she gets
another job,
a lot more money, or she just starts pursuing acting at that point.
Yeah, wow,
dang, that's
sucks.
rough. Like getting kicked out as an anchor is rough. But like, so it has a lot of interesting choices, especially like with the Harley Quinn costume.
I thought that was really funny because like everybody in the news station was wearing a Harley Quinn costume.
And they were literally so off. Like the colors were obviously off. And I was like, time to show your ex what they've been missing. I was like, oh God, no.
I will say that was pretty funny, and like the fact that Hubie's mom would always wear a different shirt with like super like horrible meanings to them. Like one of them was like, "I shaved my balls for this."
Basically, what happened in the Harley Quinn movie, the new one, Birds of Prey, is like I shaved my balls for this. I think it was just.
But it's
I
like
think
that
it
was one of them.
differently. Oh, the boner donor.
Oh
shirt.
yeah, instead of like blood
That
donor, it's
shit
like
had
boner
me
donor.
rolling.
Yeah,
I was like,
because
oh
like
my
every
God.
every time she shows up in the movie, she has like a different shirt with like a really dumb saying on it, but it's like she thinks it's super innocent when it really isn't at all.
Yeah, just it definitely had an interesting choice of ways to put around the
Yeah.
comedy. But, I will say this. I feel like it was a very difficult call. But I feel like they saved their asses because they did this. The little girl dressed up as Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's clearly in the shorts. No, obviously not booty shorts, but I think they're shorts. But they did not show anything below that at any time.
Mm.
I mean, you have obviously the little kid belly and other stuff with the little weird swirly navel that kids have, which looks like aliens crawling out of their fucking stomach, and it's gross. But like the fact that I feel like someone grabbed in Premiere and zoomed it in, so it's just from the waist up. Since they have been dealing with all the hate of the Netflix, I think it was Cuties. I think
it was called Cutie,
the
so
movie.
something like that.
Yeah,
They were
so
being
it's
accused of like
children twerking and in a twerking team, and they're already trying to avoid that kind of crap. So with Hubie Halloween, it was a very close call, but I feel like to that level, it was fine. Especially with the serving of the comedy that it was, offering to the viewer. But yeah, it was just, I really like this movie. I mean, but I feel like I could also agree, even though he was supposed to fit the part of the character that nobody liked, the voice was kind of annoying for me as well.
Yeah. But outside of that, I definitely feel like it had a lot of really funny moments. I do like that every time he had to get on his bike to go somewhere, he's like constantly dodging stuff, people just throwing at him. Especially because like at one point it just gets ridiculous because you see people like throwing like complete jack-o'-lanterns at him and like a sink at one point.
Oh, when he goes into the cornfield, he's like, "I'm in AUU," and then he's just like crawling on the floor like in a ridiculous manner, and obviously the kids were obviously lying to him. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. You know what I will say though? You know that scene where he has to go into where he is following a dog because he thinks it's a werewolf, and the dog goes into a haunted house.
Yeah.
I want to go to that haunted house. That looks really cool.
Yeah.
That haunted house looks like a lot of fun. Like I wish I could go to some to that specific haunted house.
I mean, it definitely looked interesting, so I would definitely do that as well. I mean, the dog was cute too, so I mean, I also really like dogs. So.
Yeah, but like I said, there's a lot of like nice little things, allusions to other horror movies in there. Like I think one of my favorite little callbacks to it is closer to the end of the movie. They say this one line, and it's a direct reference to Black Christmas, where they're saying, "Oh, it's coming from inside the house. They call it's coming from inside the house."
Oh my gosh!
And I love that they put that in there because I'm like, that's. For the casual horror fan, they might not get it, but to people like us that are like super into horror, we're like, oh, that's a reference to Black Christmas. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've never actually seen the original Black Christmas, but I'm gonna have to.
It's really good. You definitely have to watch it.
Not the Blumhouse one, by the way, because that's the only one I've seen. And I'm not saying it's a terrible movie, but it's just the fact that, like I said. And I will say this through and through is literally like Blumhouse likes to cater to college kids when they're not doing any big projects. Yeah. And they somehow, for something so logical, they like to add supernatural shit to the mix, like at the last minute. They're like, oh, logical? Here, supernatural, while you're at it.
They're like, this is making pretty good sense so far. Ghost.
Yeah.
Cult.
And truth or dare, it's like, oh, everybody turning like in truth or dare, things happen. That's fine. They if they don't do it, whatever, they die, and that kind of thing. But no, but like they just have to involve some curse that was developed in Mexico, and I'm like, what?
Well, here's my question about that. Why even make a Truth or Dare movie in the first place? Like, why? That's just such a waste of money and time, in my opinion.
Clubhouse.
I know, but like they know how to pick their projects most of the time, because that is a
They're
prime
bored.
example. That's a prime example of not knowing when to not choose the right project. That and Fantasy Island.
You should watch Black Christmas.
I want to make fun of it,
Do it.
because that's how I did when I watched. That's what I did when I was watching Hellfest for the first time. I was like, this movie sucks.
I heard a lot of people liked it, and I don't know if I should give it a shot or not.
Okay, well, here's my problem with Hellfest. I know we're going supremely off topic off of Hubie Halloween for a second, but there are certain sections and certain scenes in Hellfest, because I went to see this when it came out in the theater, where I burst out laughing in the middle of the theater because they were so stupid. Like, straight up. I went to see it with a friend, and at one point we stopped, we stared at each other, and just burst out laughing in the middle of the movie.
Oh my god.
And not because it was funny. Not because the movie was trying to be funny. It was because it was so bad it made us laugh.
I mean, I
Like, if you want to watch it and enjoy a relatively bad movie that it's kind of bad, it's so bad it's good, then I would definitely recommend watching Hellfest. But outside of that, as a serious horror movie, it's garbage.
I'll take your word for it.
But anyway, going back to the topic of Hubie Halloween, casting wise, same stuff you see in every Adam Sandler movie. So you got Adam Sandler, you got Steve Buscemi, you have Rob Schneider, you have Kevin James. His typical cast. It's like his best buddies. I forgot too. There's another nice little horror nod too. A nice little Halloween horror nod to the actual Halloween movie, because Rob Schneider's character is an escaped mental patient that, of course, happens to escape from the asylum the day of Halloween, and they show so many scenes that are just direct rip-offs of just off of Halloween, and they're really funny.
So, as we have briefly discussed Hubie Halloween, we're not going to be spoiling most of it because it is a relatively new movie, unlike Hocus Pocus and Trick or Treat. If you guys haven't seen Trick or Treat, even though it is mostly in the early mid-2000s area, you should be watching it. And also, Hubie Halloween has just come out this year. It's almost like the category that we have practically been covering, Halloween, not family. Well, it could be family.
Yeah, I would consider. You know what? I would consider this a family-oriented movie, because if you notice, there's really not a lot of curse words in this movie, or super crude sexual humor, or anything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of it is basic slapstick and a little bit of toilet humor in there, but nothing in your face sexual humor type of thing that normally Adam Sandler would do.
Yeah.
I think he did it on purpose. I think he wanted to do something more for families to watch.
Yeah. So it would be more of the things that we have been mostly talking about are horror comedies. Except Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is more on the horror side, while Hocus Pocus and Hubie Halloween is the traditional family horror comedy with not too much, at least sexual on the Hubie Halloween side, but there's references there.
Yeah.
But your discretion is advised, children. And so definitely check out Hubie Halloween on Netflix. It's free, no excuse. I mean, with your subscription.
Yes, of course.
But so.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say about Hubie Halloween. It is a horror comedy for horror fans.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of what it puts in the movie that people like us that are horror fans are going to enjoy. And it's also one of those types of movies that It's good if you watch it on your own. It's better if you watch it with a group of friends.
Oh yeah.
Like it's one of those movies that you want to get some friends together, or be safe and get some friends on Discord together, and then all watch the movie at the same time.
Wouldn't like Discord flag it for copyright?
No, I mean like have a Discord server and like have people comment us or watching it. I mean, or like just do like a video chat while somebody's watching the movie type of thing.
That's boring.
I mean, I'm trying to be safe about it with considering what's going on in the world right now. For those of us that want to be a little bit safer and don't feel comfortable with having like a group of friends at your house or something like that, watch it remotely. Because doesn't Netflix have that option now where you can do like a group watch on Netflix now? Yeah. So you can do it that way too. So that way everybody feels safe. You still get to enjoy the movie, but like I said, watch it on your own. It's funny. Watch it with friends. It's even funnier.
Yeah, I think Disney Plus has just incorporated
Yes,
that.
they just did.
So does everybody? I mean, I've never tried that option.
I haven't either.
What I thought, would you just get on camera while watching it, or?
No, I think it's just that like
a chat.
I think it's like a chat room almost. Yeah, like everybody will watch the movie at the same time, and they'll have little chat bubbles that you can just like comment as you're watching the movie. That's what I'm thinking. Is it works? Like I haven't tried it out, but
I need to try it out one day.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we not all we want to say on Hubie Halloween, but all we can say for the sake of not wanting to spoil it for everybody that hasn't seen it yet.
It is a really, I mean, I'm not gonna say that it is not, but it is a really long movie and it has a lot of content to offer. So if you think that we gave you a lot of information, you got another thing coming.
Oh yeah.
It has a lot more than you would actually expect.
That's true. But yeah, I think we're going to stop it right here. We're just going to end this episode here. We discussed 3 of our traditional Halloween movies today. With 2, you got our classic Hocus Pocus, you got our horror, straight up in your face Halloween Trick or Treat, and then you got your new horror comedy in Hubie Halloween. So there's 3 right off the bat that if you haven't seen, you should definitely check out, or if you have already seen, check them out again.
Yeah, so past, present, and future in Halloween. So
look at that.
Definitely check it out and have a very safe Halloween, guys.
Yes.
Because we are now in a time where we want to get spooky stuff done, but things are happening. But we will be doing another podcast covering the whole tradition of Halloween,
yes.
And hopefully being able to go on a rant before Halloween comes, because we would like to have that episode out before Halloween. But yeah, so where can we find us?
Yes, so we are on YouTube as Sounds from the Grave. So that we're posting all the podcast episodes are up there right now. There's a couple of extra things on there too. Some gaming, scary games that I posted on there. There is
mostly Yussef so far because he hasn't given me the login. No, I'm kidding. When he has given me the login, I just
you just haven't been able to make contact for it yet. It happens, We lead busy lives.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, there's some like scary games on there. There's a couple of trailer reactions on there, especially the new video that just came out today, where I talk about the new things on the horizon for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, which makes me extremely excited. And there's a lot more coming out in the near future. We got a first movie review is actually going to be up in a couple of days. But that's just on the YouTube side. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Sounds from the Grave. If you guys can give us a follow. Also, our podcast itself is on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. So there's plenty of ways to either listen or watch the podcast. And like I said, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Give us a follow. Give us a shout out. Reach out to us. Tell us what you want us to talk about on the podcast. Tell us something that you want to cover for the YouTube channel, and we'll do our best to try to cover that for you guys, because it's for you. So, but what about you, the Phoenix?
So I am of course, a part of the Sounds of the Grave, but I also have my own thing, which is called HHN Cultist. So if you're really into horror nights, the name says it all. But I also do Halloween Horror Nights, Universal haunts, and anything horror related when it comes to makeup vlogs and anything that may have to do with horror. So if you guys kind of like that content, I will be on YouTube and on Twitter, and I just kind of post whenever, but I'm mostly on Twitter when it comes to like makeup looks and updates and all that kind of stuff. So check me out on those two platforms.
Yes, and definitely check out the 2 cosplays that she posted today. She did a Bride of Frankenstein cosplay, which I loved. It is incredible.
Thank you.
And she just posted an adult version of Wednesday Addams cosplay today, and that was also really, really cool. So definitely check those out. She's a queen.
Yeah. So I have been very surprised with the amount of responses I've been getting on the Bride of Frankenstein cosplay. So thank you guys so much for the love, and I really much appreciate that you guys like her. So thank you so much, especially the wig. The wig was actually so much fun to create out of a whole afro wig.
Yeah, I gotta say the end result was great. So you did a really good job on that.
Thank you. So
You're welcome.
yeah, guys, it is late, so I think we're gonna go.
Yep.
So have a safe pre-Halloween. We'll hopefully get that Halloween episode to you guys soon.
Yep.
And check out those movies, please.
For sure. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next podcast episode, next video, whichever one comes out first. But we'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.